Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I'm sitting down today with Hashim Ahmed, Chief Financial Officer, and John Hill, Vice President of Exploration and Mine Development at Jaguar Mining. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us today. Great to have you. Happy New Year to you both. How are you doing?
We're doing great. Thank you. Thank you, John.
Good to be here.
So Hashim, I'm going to turn it over to you. Jaguar just put their Q4, physical numbers out. So I think you're going to give us an update on where the company's at with that.
Yeah. So we're going to walk through a slide deck and go through some of the operational updates, talk a little bit about our balance sheet. We're going to focus on what 2020 financial year was for us. And then we're going to go into a bit more detail about the projects, the growth projects, which John Hill is currently responsible for. Where are we with each one of them? So our investors, our audience can get a flavor of, exactly where each project is and which direction we're going. I'd like to bring to attention some forward-looking statements, of course, that we'll be making during this presentation. And these forward-looking statements are speculative in nature sometimes. So, just giving a quick overview, a lot of our audience has been with us in the past two interviews that we did with Follow the Money group, and we've gone through a lot of this content before. But I want to focus on what financial year 2020 was for Jaguar. Of course, it was a year of great turnaround. 91,000 ounces plus produced during the year. It was a 23% increase in production year over year. So, that's one of our key achievements, as well as establishes a lot of confidence in our company for our shareholders. Another thing which I would like to highlight is the free cash flow. We generated approximately $45 million free cash flow in 2020, despite the first half of the year being, the gold being in $1,600 per ounce. So you can see that the potential in the future of generating free cash flow is quite huge. I've time and again highlighted that we are virtually debt free. Less than $3 million worth of debt. So that's why our free cash flow generation can go a long way in doing the growth projects that we are doing. The share price has increased tremendously in the past 1 year. And I'm going to go into some of those specifics in the next slide. You see at the chart on this slide, our share price went from a 12-month low of 1.3 to a 12-month high of 9.2. Just as of today, we broke our 52-week high, and we went up to 9.34. But it's great to see that the market is recognizing this company's potential. Gold has not broken off its high yet. I think that's going to be up and coming in the future. We'll see that go back to its highs. But despite that, gold being at 1850, we see a great recognition of our turnaround in our share price as well. Our share price has gone up year over year, almost 6 to 7 times. So it's a great return for our shareholders, as well as the dividend yield that we've been giving for the past 2 quarters, and we will continue to give going ahead as well. It's a 4% dividend yield. When you talk about fixed income returns on your investments these days, and even if you consider yield on most of your good performing stocks out there, 4% is a very attractive dividend yield. And then last but not least, our assets are, they've got a life of 10 years plus in M&I. So that gives us a lot of confidence that this story is not ending right now. This story is going to continue, and it's going to grow from here. So this slide, I would like to bring focus on, the unique position that the company has in the Iron Quad. We've talked about this slide in the past, but I would like to bring attention of the global investor community towards this area in Brazil. A lot of people don't know about it, but there's a lot of potential ounces that have been mined and will be mined from this area in the future. And the fact that Jaguar owns a significant land position in the Iron Quad, we are the second largest land holder, producing company land holder in Brazil for the gold mining in Iron Quad. And that's a significant leverage that we have going ahead. And with the free cash flow that we're generating, we're going to put that into those projects and see a significant return for our shareholders. So now I'd like to walk the audience through some of our operating performance, for Q4 and the year 2020. As you can see on the slide, we ended the quarter with approximately 22,500 ounces. This was, although a strong production, it was weaker than what we had anticipated. We were slightly down from our forecast of 24,000 to 25,000 ounces for the quarter, primarily because of some circumstances around COVID-19, which has been a distraction for our operations at Tumalina since the past 1 year. We've been managing it quite well, but during Q4, the number of cases did rise, which did result in some production impacts, as well as the rainy season and some power cuts contributed to some of the reduction in our target in November and December. That being said, we all feel very proud of the annual target of 91,000 ounces, which was towards the higher end of our guidance that we had put out last year. If you recall, our guidance was 84 to 94,000 ounces for the year. So we're very proud of that. We're proud of our 23% increase year over year, and we're hopeful that the 23 to 25,000 ounce per quarter production trend will continue as we go ahead. Growth opportunities and catalysts. We've gone through these slides in the past, but I think what we want to do right now is really focus on the organic exploration. As you see on the right side of the slide, you've got some growth projects that we've been working on. And at this point, I'll hand it over to John Hill, our VP Exploration, to walk us through and explain in a very concise but comprehensive manner where we are with each one of these projects and where do we see them going ahead. John?
Okay, thanks. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Hashim, for that introduction. Just before I get going on looking forward, we're in a position to invest heavily in growth on the back of the good results that we've achieved over the last 12 months. Free cash flow, strong financial position has really allowed Jaguar to look very closely at organic growth, and that's really coming from two areas. One is leveraging our excess plant capacity from our existing plants and infrastructure, but also a pipeline of projects within our large tenement area. From the period 2016 through to 2019, we focused on building our resource reserve inventories up to that five years of reserves, 10 years of resources. And a lot of that work was really done in the mines, just through exploration that focused on extending the existing ore bodies and known ore bodies to depth to add life to the mines, but also laterally satellite ore bodies that could be accessed from the infrastructure in the mines. So we're very successful at that, and we added a material amount of ounces at less than $10 per ounce. So now, looking forward, our growth portfolio is really about tackling the near mine brownfields and to some extent greenfields opportunities that exist in our tenement portfolio. Just looking, we've got 24 tenements, all of which have had some form of previous mining activity or occurrences mapped over in the past, either by Jaguar or its predecessors. So there's also an amount of non-compliant resources involved with those projects, which we're looking at with various work programs that can bring them into compliancy. Not with a lot of physical activity like drilling, but certainly just with working with databases and data and qualified people and the like, that type of desktop work. So that's also happening. But in terms of the excitement and the growth, we've late last year we rolled out a plan to really step up our exploration. We mobilized 3 surface rigs that were in operation starting at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and by the year end we had three diamond rigs turning. That's in addition to 3 underground rigs that have been going from about mid-year at our operations at Turmalina and Pilar. So I'm just going to take you through how those programs are going. Up until the end of last year, we drilled just over 6,000 meters, 44 drill holes on 3 projects in the last quarter of last year. So basically, this is just a map showing our tenement areas in the quad and our focuses. We've got 5 areas where we're focusing. Top left is around our MTL operation. The central portion is really around our CCA plant at Kaiter. Pilarzinho is around our Pilar mine near Kaiter. And then the one in the center and the one at the bottom are demarcated as IAMGOLD, one and two packages of tenements that were in joint venture with IAMGOLD that was kicked off mid last year. So in terms of work, I'm going to talk you through the initial where we started. We started at around Turmalina with a project called Fina. Then we finished that program, and then we went to Zona Basal and Pilarzinho after that. And finally, at the end of the year, we were able to access our priority target at Correia Brandão. So really, in parallel with that, we built our team up threefold to about 75 people in the exploration team, rising from 25 people. And in terms of budgeting, last year we spent about $6 million, and we intend to build on that this year with a approved budget of around $10 to $12 million. Once again, the majority of that exploration expenditure will be with a drill bit. So I'll just talk about Fina primarily. Fina is an ore body which is directly to the north of our Turmalina mine, about 1.5 kilometers. And it's a historical open pit where an oxide resource was exploited. But the sulfide portion of that ore body was not mined due to the fact that it has refractory characteristics. There's quite a large resource there of the order of 400,000 ounces at 7.2 grams a ton. So we've in late last year we drilled 4 PQ holes to get samples for reviewing and upgrading that metallurgical test work on that deposit. Keeping in mind that our Turmalina plant has excess capacity on the front end, the milling and crushing, and if we can determine a process flotation or fine grinding, intensive cyanidation or the like, that gives us many options due to its proximity to our existing operations, to bring that online fairly quickly. So we have a team dedicated to reviewing that test work when the results start to come out in February this year, just next month, and there'll be good news flow on that project as we go into the second quarter of this year. I just want to highlight on this map before I move to the next slide. The Zona Basal target is 8 kilometers from the plant. It's a new grassroots project which was developed in 2019 from soil sampling, and I'll just take you through to a slide on that now. We generated a nice golden soil anomaly at 100 ppb level at Zona Basal, and followed that up with trenching, where we demonstrated bedrock source to mineralization, structurally controlled greenstones, which are very similar to what we're mining. And recently, in the middle of last year, we completed a high-resolution drone magnetic survey, which demonstrated continuity of that mineralization that we'd intersected in trenches. And now we've done some drilling there towards the end of last year. So we've intercepted sulfides and oxide mineralization, but we don't have any assay results available to release yet. On the back of ALS Chemex, our service provider, having issues which were global in nature related to COVID. But we're starting to see samples coming out this week already in January, and we hope to start news flow on that particular project by the going into February. So we've demonstrated a fairly nice target for potential open pit oxide mineralization and at depth sulfides, structurally controlled sulfide bodies, very much similar in geometry to what we're already mining at Turmalina mine. Let me just move forward to the next slide. This is our new and our most high priority target called Corregibran Down. This was generated back in 2019 from a regional survey, which showed a major fold structure in the greenstone belt, which was similar in nature to some of the structures that host the big deposits that we know about within the Iron Quad. We followed that up with some soil sampling, which generated a very nice golden soil anomaly at 100 ppb level and above, and subsequently to that, we've done further soil geochemistry, which has extended an anomaly within that regional structure, over 5 kilometers over strike length. Added to that, we have very, very strong gold in soil, arsenic in soil, antimony in soil, and tellurium in soil. These are pathfinder elements which are generally associated with mineralization in the region. And on top of that, we did a high-resolution drone magnetic survey, and that also demonstrated the potential of a magnetic unit that was mineralized. Auger drilling was done to test the original soil anomaly, and we had a very good intercept of 12 meters at 21 grams per ton from surface. And recently, we've mobilized 2 diamond drill rigs, and we completed 5 holes into that target in December for just over 500 meters. And once again, we're waiting for results to report on for that particular project. But that's our main project in terms of what's new. It's only 5 kilometers from our plant at Kaiter, and there's a lot of geological context that gives us confidence that we will certainly generate some interesting numbers from that project. And this year, like I said, the rigs have returned and they're busy drilling I think the 6th and 7th holes into that project as we speak. So that's a very, very exciting project, and I really look forward to getting results out on that particular project. The other major event last year for Jaguar was entering this joint venture with IAMGOLD. You can see from this visual the red areas in the slide are the additional 30,000 hectares almost of additional exploration tenements that are brought to the party from the IAMGOLD joint venture. We're earning into 60% of that ground for over 4 years with an expenditure of $6 million and a minimum spend of 5,000 meters of drilling. So it's not a very onerous, it's actually a very favorable joint venture for us. Why are we so excited about this deposit, this project, is that it's right next to our plant at CPA, our Paciencia plant, which is been on care and maintenance since 2012, has 2,000 tons per day capacity. So any discovery we make, even modest in size, can leverage that capacity almost immediately. Obviously, there is a time lag to bring new plants back online, but certainly a lot less than if you needed to build a plant from scratch, and notwithstanding the capital expenditure required to do that. So we're actively we actively recruited a team to explore those areas with us, and they're on the ground. And we also embarked last year on a very ambitious airborne drone, high-resolution drone magnetic survey, 14,000 hectares, and of that, we've completed about 5,000 hectares already, and over the most prospective part of that package. Something to note about the packages as well as the geology. The geology has been interpreted in the past to be a sequence of rocks that weren't so prospective. We've demonstrated from our work and the work that IAMGOLD have done that it is in fact Nova Lima group rocks, basically banded formations within volcanic sequences rather than sedimentary sequences. And we've identified over 60 kilometers of strike length of folded BIF lithologies previously unrecognized that have got arsenic and gold geochemical anomalism associated with them from the work that we've got and from previous work from IAMGOLD. So we're really in the process of generating drill targets in those areas, very close to our plant, and we intend to, subject to permitting, have drills turning there in April or May, as soon as April or May this year. So that's a very exciting project for us. So I'll hand back to Hashim now, just to finish off this section, and then we can go to some questions and answers.
Thanks, John. One of the things which I want to highlight, and especially as part of John's presentation, is we've got these 3 or 4 key projects that we're working on: Faina, Zona Basal, Corrego Bandao, and then the IAMGOLD land positions. Our plan is to, starting around mid-February, going onwards, to start releasing some kind of a news about each one of these projects on a monthly basis, so that we can continue to deliver our targeted, our targets to the market as we go ahead and update our investors. Faina is a very interesting target. As John alluded, it's 1.5 kilometers away from our current mining areas. We can approach it through an underground 1.5 kilometer drive, and it's got an extremely high grade, though it's metallurgically a little bit difficult, but with even a reduced recovery, it's very attractive. And we want to update our own study about its metallurgy, as we are doing right now, and probably bring that into our reserves later this year as a much higher reserve as compared to what we had. So that's a great opportunity. Corrego Bandao, brand new excitement that's out there as well. So lot more exciting news coming ahead in the next few quarters. John?
So thanks, Hashim. Thanks, John, for that great update. I guess I had a few questions for you. How confident is the company that you will hit that sustainable 100,000 ounces of gold this year?
So we've demonstrated, during 2020 that achieving 23 to 24,000 ounces per quarter is, first of all, an achievable goal for us. It's not a stretch with the current infrastructure, with the current teams in place, with the amount of development we've done at both, the underground development we've done at both sites. That is a pretty safe assumption. Taking it up to another 5% increase, once again, the confidence we get is from the mine sequence, mine plan, and the amount of developed ore bodies that we are seeing ahead of us. We've invested a lot in underground development in the past 2 years. That was one of the big bottlenecks for the company. So with that bottleneck now going away, we think that that 5% increase from 24,000 ounces to 25,000 ounces is not a large leap for us to achieve. So I think our confidence level is pretty high there.
And the issues that you ran into in Q4, you specifically mentioned, some issues at Turmalina with respect to COVID, and there was some power. What steps is the company taking to kind of address that to make sure that won't be an issue, this year?
We've managed COVID issues up till now pretty well. And, we are all very proud of our Brazilian teams who have done an excellent job. The amount of infections are going up worldwide. We see that this is going to be an ongoing challenge. That being said, Brazil has just recently, as of I think last week, started their own vaccination program. And Brazil, by the way, we must highlight, is one of the countries which has historically had one of the most successful vaccination programs. They vaccinate almost 80 to 90% of their population every year for the flu vaccine. So they have the network to get this done. We think it's going to be a challenge for us, a distraction for us, maybe for the next quarter or two, but we'll have to actively manage as we've done it in the past. But going ahead, it should become less of a noise. The power cut downs at both sites, they do happen during rainy season. It's not within our infrastructure. It's outside our infrastructure. And we continue to work with the grid provider to minimize this, and we'll do that as well as we go ahead.
Okay. So looking forward, 2021, your goal is 100,000 ounce producer. Does the company have any objectives or aspirations to push that a lot higher through some of the exploration work that John and the team are doing? Say 3 to 5 years down the road, do you have a goal in mind about where you'd like to be production-wise?
Yes, I think from 100 to 110 and gradually to 125. That seems like an approachable plan within the next 3 years. Once again, we must highlight, our current ore bodies at Turmalina A and C. We're getting deep down there. Therefore, adding Faena as a new option that we can mine in starting next year in 2022 and onwards. That would be a good replacement. It's higher grade, it's shallower, so it should add production even if we replace current ore bodies A and C at Turmalina. Pilar has extremely attractive assets around it. We've got Corrego Bandão, which could come into production in the next 2 to 3 years. So these assets are going to add to our mill capacity. With 40 to 50% mill capacity, there could be a higher potential. But 3 years, 120,000 ounces is a likely scenario. We've also started an operational readiness program at our Paciencia mine as of last quarter. If you remember, this mine has been shut down since 2012. As part of the operational readiness program, we are evaluating the old data, what we have right now. We are evaluating what could be a desktop scenario of this going ahead. And then based on our analysis and in that initial analysis, we should be able to see, what do we need to do, what kind of money we need to spend, and what kind of risk we need to take to reopen that operation. So that's also a great opportunity, but I don't see that happening in the next 2 to 3 years. Mm-hmm. That's probably more like a 5-year term line.
Okay. Based on the conversations that you've had yourself and Vern with investors, especially big investors, institutional money, do you get the sense that there's a confidence out there from shareholders or potential shareholders that you have finally turned the corner on the company, the turnaround story is solid? Or do you still have shareholders that say, we want to see you, put another good year in before we really feel comfortable? What's the sentiment out there from the shareholders that you've talked to?
I think the sentiment is reflected in our share price.
Okay.
And it continues to be so. We don't think we are fully priced with respect to our net asset value. That being said, I think there is a discount factor, which a lot of juniors are seeing, and we are seeing that as well. But as far as the confidence in our operations, the ability of the company to generate that 95,000 ounce production, which is kind of the mid-range of our lower range of our guidance for next year, for this year now. In fact, as you saw probably in our press release, we put out 95,000 to 105,000 ounces of guidance. So the low end of that range is we've got a great amount of confidence in that. So I think the confidence has returned. We should be seeing some great further growth opportunities. I think the foundation is now pretty strong for us to build on this and take the next leap.
Okay. So obviously 2020 was a big year for the company. You've eliminated your debt, as you've mentioned. The cash flow has really improved. I think your free cash flow yield is somewhere up around 8%, if my math is right. Is there any plans in terms of the dividend? Like, you're looking to keep the dividend as it is, or could shareholders potentially expect that dividend to increase? What's the plans there?
So we're I mean, depending on when you joined the story, but assuming you invested in the second half of the last year, 2020, the dividend is still very attractive. It's 4%. If you bought it at $7, it's more towards 5%. But I think we'll continue to deliver that dividend yield if the gold price and for FX all remain where they are, which are the two variables which are not in our control. We should be able to deliver the 4 to 5% yield. Increasing yield from that point onwards, we believe that yield is pretty attractive, but any further cash that we have, we should put it into growth. We should put it into these targets that John is working on. We believe we can deliver a lot more value to our shareholders by unwinding the value that is in those assets. So I think our aim would be to reinvest that remaining cash.
Okay. And, obviously with the share rollback, you did the 1 to 10 rollback, the prices, we're at 920 or something range today. It's not a penny stock anymore. You're, producing cash flow consistently. I think there's going to be a natural progression here to probably get the company listed in the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ. Can you speak to any plans on that, or whether the company would be taking that direction?
So we had two inquiries in the past, primarily two inquiries in the past from our shareholders in the US. One was about listing back on NASDAQ or NYSE, which we don't have a plan to. We think being on the Toronto Stock Exchange gives us the depth and to approach new shareholders. We think that the extra cost of listing in the US is not justified for a company our size. That being said, we have formally, we are formally going to launch a process as of this week to start listing on OTCQX, which is informal over the counter exchange, but it has a lot of volume. And for all our shareholders in the US, if you are with Fidelity Investments or if you are with any other big investment bank out there, you can invest through the OTCQX. So that we think is going to give us a lot of liquidity. It should give our shareholders in the US or prospective shareholders in the US access to our shares. So that's going to solve that. It's not a very high cost compliance activity on an ongoing basis as well. So it should not add significant G&A to our profit and loss account. So that's the plan there. You mentioned share consolidation, and once again, this is one of the things where we are very proud. If you look at share consolidations, they are usually a coin flip. We've seen 50% of them not go well and 50% of them go well. Jaguar, during a turnaround or towards the middle of a turnaround, did a share consolidation, and that went very well for us. We've not only maintained the share price, but we've actually gone and increased that. So I think it's really good news for the company that the share consolidation worked. We think with the share consolidation and with the amount of volumes we are seeing in our trading, you're seeing approximately 200 to 300,000 shares being traded every day. We should be coming under the observation of GDX, and we may be included just based on the large amount of volume that we are trading in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I just brought up the chart. Obviously, it's a really nice chart. I think I looked, if you bought at the end of December 2019, or if you were a Jaguar shareholder at the end of December 2019, it closed around $1.91. As of the end of December 31st, 2020, it was $8.34. That's about a 4.4 times return. So I think, shareholders that have been holding for a while obviously have to be happy. As a technical analyst, I would look at this chart and say it looks bullish to me. You had a nice run into August. It's kind of been consolidating sideways, but it looks like it could push higher. But Hashim, one question I would have for you, and if a new shareholder is looking at the company and they see, okay, there's been all this growth, what do you think? What would you tell them to say? What is going to be the driver for the company for the next move to happen, for the next push in the share price to happen, outside of that shareholder being interested in, say, the 4% dividend?
The next push is all on exploration. As we said, we've got irons in the oven. We've got, for lack of a better word, 4 different ovens working at the same time. Mm-hmm. And we are very lucky we have free cash flow to fund that and a balance sheet that can support it. So for our new shareholders who entered the stock price at this point, and we see a lot of volume building up on the share, which is an indication of people are confident that this thing can go even further. So we're very confident that the new exploration play that John Hill is leading is the next chapter.
Okay. And one question, because I do definitely want to get to John on the exploration side, but maybe Hashim, one last question. Here's the US dollar against the Brazilian real. Does the company have any projections, or do you hire anyone to make projections on the FX rate? Or I know you're unhedged against the price of gold right now and against the exchange rate. Correct me if I'm wrong. Are there any plans to hedge that exposure at all? Or what are you projecting?
Gold for sure, no hedging. On FX currency as well, we are not hedging. Okay. The prediction on FX is as good as your next week's weather forecast. It's usually a probability scenario. Yeah. What we've seen is, we saw the FX go down to 5. There was a lot of resistance around that level. Mm-hmm. Some of the people were forecasting 4.8. It never broke 5. It has since returned up back to its 5.3, 5.4 range. Mm-hmm. We expect that is going to be the norm for the year, for around 5.5. Okay. We've prepared our budgets at 5.2, so we've been quite conservative on that. We've not based our budget on 5.5 or higher. Most of the economists in the country, in Brazil, are saying that range of 5.5 to 5.75 is more likely to be the reality in 2021. So we think we've got an upside both in gold and FX.
Okay. So John, let's switch to you on the exploration side. I mean, you mentioned in the presentation when you were talking that your budget for exploration last year, you had $6 million to play with. This year, Hashim and Vern have opened the purse strings a little bit. Now you've got 12 million. Can you talk about roughly where will those exploration dollars be allocated between the four main projects you were talking about?
Basically, the main measure still goes back to our costs of $10 per new inferred ounce. So obviously, not all of that money can go in the ground, but because we have done our homework over the last few years and we have a pipeline of projects that we can roll out and tackle in appropriate order, there'll be in excess of 50,000 meters drilled this year. So it's really going to be drilling in the four sort of quadrants that are in this slide here. And then the four ones in red, they'll be drilling in those. And then the one at the bottom, it'll be greenfields generative type work. But so it's really going to be a lot depends on results. We may reallocate drill rigs to projects that are getting better results. It's very dynamic, but
yeah.
We're very flexible. We've got enough manpower and geological skills and infrastructure in place to be able to really effectively spend that money and make the right decisions. The only question mark up to now has been getting assays back from the external laboratories, but we've been making decisions based on some samples that we've been able to send to our internal laboratories to make the decisions that have driven the programs late last year going into this year. So we had a long time where we had no money to spend. What we learned was how to spend with discipline and do the basics correctly. So we're very confident that the money will be spent in the right place at the right time with the team that we have.
It's obviously got to be nice to have that internal laboratory. I know there's so many companies that are frustrated with the assay process has been slow. I know in Canada it's horrible. It sounds like Brazil is not the greatest either. That's obviously got to be helpful. And you mentioned this is a dynamic thing, and I would understand that. But as of today, based on what you know today, is there a certain zone or a certain target that you're perhaps more excited than others, or that you really want to focus on, or do you think the focus will be kind of fairly evenly distributed?
The two flagship properties are Zona Basal and Corregia Brown Down at the moment, because they were the best targets that we're still working on them, and we're getting encouragement, and we're basically we just need to get the assays to catch up in a month or so, and then we'll be able to trade them off against each other. Obviously, finer, it's all about the metallurgical test work. If that comes up with a solution, then there'll be more money that will be asked for to bring that forward through a feasibility process. And then finally, I think the other exciting thing from a grassroots perspective is the iron gold ground. We've just got so many really compelling targets in that trend next to our CPA plant that we're really excited about getting in there fairly quickly. So what's good is that we've got enough flexibility in our programs to be able to drill 4 or 5 holes on one target, move the rigs to another one while we're waiting for results, and then return. And we're not dealing with a massive geographical area where everything's fairly close. So that we really have that's another positive thing about working in the quad, is that we've got we've got 4 centers where we have infrastructure. We've got core sheds, we've got core saws, we've got vehicles, we've got people to operate and sample and do the geology, and we've built up our skills to do the modeling of those. So It's all, and also things like databases. We replaced our database a year in anticipation, so that's all bedded down. And really, we've got a good mix of new talent, straight from university, mixed with some very experienced, specialized skills that we've been able to attract on the back of our results and where we operate. You can't underestimate what nice a place it is to work for a geologist, the Iron Quadrangle of Brazil. So we've really been able to attract a really good team.
Nice. So I just had a question on FINA. It sounds like the plan, as long as the metallurgy works out, that the plan is to drift over from Turmalina. Is there any exploration work that you've done, or is there any data that suggests there could be mineralization in between FINA and Turmalina?
Yeah, there's been historical geochemistry which shows anomalism along the structure. It's basically the C and the D, another structure called structure D, which emanate from the northwest of where we're mining at the moment. So the idea is to develop along the mineralized structure out to FINA, and then drill parallel structures from that development. We'll probably have 2 development headings, because we'll ultimately need that for ventilation. So we have got a good chance of positioning those in a favourable place. We've also got the benefit of the high resolution drone airborne magnetics, which was done earlier this year, which covered that area. We've recently done mapping at the FINA open pit, which has given us a much better understanding of the structure, so we can tackle it from the trend from both ends. Mm-hmm. We were in the process of laying out, just a series of drill holes at 200, 300 meter intervals along the strike between the two ore bodies, to just basically guide that development. And that drilling will start in the end of February, when we finish our drilling at Zona Basal, or the current phase of drilling at Zona Basal. So and in addition, there is development already at CNW. They're even stoping one particular area there. They managed to get in last year. So it's not something that needs a lot of planning. It's really just, we've made the decision to start developing across to FINA already. And we just really need to guide that using the geological information that we've got on hand.
Okay. It sounds like in many ways, February is going to be a big month for the company, for Jaguar, certainly exploration wise. You've got metallurgy from FINA, you've got a bunch of assays that you're expecting back from a couple of the other targets. February sounds like it could be quite exciting from a news flow standpoint, right? Catalyst.
Absolutely. That's well in our plans, and that's exactly what we intend to do.
Yeah. So maybe one last question here on Corrego Brandão. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, or doing it justice anyway, John. These targets look pretty shallow. Would your expectation be that if this pans out, these would be open pit operations, or would
the auger drill hole was all oxidized, and the drilling that we've done to date shows the saprolite profile, or the oxidized profile, going down between up to 50 meters in places. So there is a very good chance that at least the initial starter pit will be, there'll be an open pitable proposition, and basically the model is a sort of a blanket oxide type deposit sitting on top of structurally controlled or folded iron-rich horizons, which then have high-grade shoots, extending to depth like we see elsewhere. So that's our thesis at the moment. Obviously, things can change, but our drilling initially is targeting confirming and adding to the oxidized material that we impacted in our auger holes, and also intersecting the same zone in the hypogeum or in the fresh rock at depth. Still potentially open pitable depths down to say 200 meters, depending on the widths of the intercepts that we get. But at this stage, initially an open pit, and then obviously underground down the line, and that really goes with anything in the quad. But we have the capacity to take whatever feed that we can give to the plants that we have.
And the strike length here, John, it looks like about say a kilometer approximately so far?
On those red targets on the image, it's about a kilometer. But the overall soil anomaly, sorry, we don't have an image up here that extends right around the sort of periphery of that image. You know, it's over 5 kilometers of gold in soil above 100 ppb. And the magnetics and the radiometrics demonstrate the host rock is present throughout that strike length. So we are looking at a regional scale fold structure, and individual, you know, parasitic fold structures within that is what our sort of immediate target is.
Okay. And maybe one last question, John. You mentioned when you were talking earlier that there were people that had written off this area that's subject to the IQ agreement between you and IAMGOLD. What was it that you saw and IAMGOLD have seen or determined that's, you know, changed your mind on that, that you think will prove sort of the naysayers wrong in the past?
Well, basically the work that was done by IAMGOLD with Kinross back in the day was very well done, but they only worked for about a year. And during that 1 year, they managed to do a regional scale airborne magnetics and radiometric survey. But the joint venture fell over after that, before they'd finished the targeting work on that data set. So what's happened subsequent to that is IAMGOLD and to extend us, we've now reinterpreted that data and field checked the targets and the geology that we've seen, and it doesn't match with the CPRM published maps. It's a completely different stratigraphic unit that we've now confirmed there, which is the Nova Lima group, which is where all the big deposits are hosted. So that's the game changer for us. So I just can't remember off the top of my head what it had originally been mapped as, but not Nova Lima group. So that's the real game changer.
Okay. Well, Hashim, John, listen, it's been a great interview. I appreciate you both coming on, giving us an update. I want to say, just extend my congratulations. I think it's been 2020, despite its challenges, was obviously a very good year for you. You know, as we explained, I think if you were a shareholder, certainly in 2019, you're really happy, and the chart is looking bullish. You know, you've got that nice dividend yield now. The company's producing good free cash flow. There seems to be a lot of things going your way. And, you know, that's obviously kudos to yourselves and the entire team at Jaguar that you've been able to turn this around and get the company on really solid footing. So again, appreciate your time, and, you know, looking forward to having you guys back in for, you know, some future updates on, you know, maybe the exploration and such. So
thank you, John. Have a great day.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
Stay safe.
Bye.